Otel yatırımları, trendler, markalar ve stratejik büyüme başlığıyla devam edeceğiz. Şu an itibariyle moderatörümüz hazır bile. Moderatörümüz sahnedeler. Hoş geldiniz Sayın Armin Zerunyan, AZ Consultancy kurucusu. Armin Bey, bu tarafa doğru sizi rica edeceğim efendim ve hemen panelistlerimizi de davet edelim. Armin Bey'in moderasyonunda Kristin Thorsteinsdottir geliyorlar. IHG Hotels Resorts geliştirme başkanı kendileri ve Ziadeh Accor CDO Premium orta ölçekli ve ekonomi MEA ve Paredes Fernadez geliyorlar. Hyatt Hotels, Güney Avrupa Otel Geliştirme Direktörü Carlos Fernandez ve Funda Eratıcı, Hilton Worldwide, Türkiye Kıdemli Geliştirme Direktörü. Funda Hanım, hayırdır? Bol alkışla geldi Funda Hanım. Ve Tassos, Kotzanastassis, Petra Hospitality kurucu ortak ve direktör. Herkese alkışlayalım. Armin Bey, buyurunuz efendim.
Armin, we didn't get an applause. Kristin and
Bize o kadar alkış gelmedi. Biz de alkış isteriz. Funda Hanım kadar biz de alkış isteriz.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our panel. We will be discussing today hotel investments in the context of trends, brands, and strategic growth. We'll be running this panel in English. I'm Armin Zerunyan of AZ Consultancy, and it's a real pleasure to be moderating today. As you know, over the past 2 decades, international brands have really raised the bar in this market in Turkey. Higher ADRs, stronger reputation, better guest experience, better standards, and as a result, key cities and coastal cities, some of them, have become more competitive. But some resort areas seem to be still offering some untapped potential, and we'll be discussing that today. Today, I'm joined by our exceptional panel. We'll be hearing from 5 leading voices from 4 global brands and a very smart third-party operator. And they will be telling us how they are prioritizing on the trends and how they are differentiating in a crowded landscape, and what strategies they're applying to deliver ROI for the investors and for the owners. So I'll let our panelists introduce themselves, starting with Kristin. And very briefly, please, and then we can crack on with the first question.
Thank you. So my name is Kristin Thorsteinsdottir, so kudos to the presenter for pronouncing my name. I work for IHG, Intercontinental Hotels Group. I'm head of development for a big chunk of what we call Southern Europe, which is a territory that stretches from France to Mongolia. And within that territory, I carry the responsibility for development in Turkey, which is an important market for us.
hello. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. I'm very delighted to be here for another year. I'm Maya Ziadeh. I am Chief Development Officer for Accor, for the premium mid-scale and economy brands in Middle East, Africa, and Turkey. So premium, mid-scale, and economy brands, very briefly, that means Swissôtel, Movenpick, Novotel, Mercure, and Ibis Family, and many more brands. Again, thank you for having me here. Çok teşekkürler.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carlos Paredes. I'm very happy to be here with all these experts in the panel. I'm heading the development of Hyatt in Southern Europe with a strong focus in Turkey, where I'm trying to spend now more and more time. yeah, I mean, I'd love to give you a little bit of an idea of what we're trying to achieve here in Turkey and what our growth and strategy plans are. But yeah, again, very happy to be here.
Funda?
I'm Funda Eratıcı, and I'm the Senior Director of Development for Hilton in Turkey, proudly representing 25 of our brands and taking good care of them and hopefully grow them even more in the future. Thank you.
Tassos?
Günaydınlar. My name is Tassos. I'm one of the founders of Petra Hospitality Management. We are one of the largest, maybe the largest third-party hotel management companies in Turkey. We've got 4,000 keys under management, 30 projects, and we're in 5 countries.
So Tassos, we have these 4 global brands. How did you sneak into this panel? Are you gate crashing?
First of all, Armin, you left the Greek guy last in your panel. And second, I do have a badge.
Yes, I checked your badge. He's legit. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
So if everybody is ready, we'll start. We have to keep this panel moving fast because some participants have to catch a flight. So if anyone goes over time, I'll charge you late checkout fee. So the first question is a shared question. It's the same question for everybody, round robin. So given Turkey's impressive hotel growth over the past 2 decades, what are the top 2 trends in the hospitality industry today that your respective brands and companies are prioritizing to sustain the momentum? And how do these differ from more predictable markets in Europe and the GCC? So I'll start with Kristin.
I would say that the 2 keywords that IHG is employing for Turkey is one is agility, speed, and localization. So across the world, you know, us, Accor, Hilton, Hyatt, maybe a little bit less so, we are rolling out new brands to capture new demand segment and changing consumer behaviors. But this takes on a different dimension in Turkey because the market here is so much more unpredictable because of the...
We know that.
Yeah, you know it. I don't need to go into the details. Yeah, the market is so much more unpredictable. The profile of the investors is so much more heterogeneous than it is in Europe. So we need to be more agile. And how do we do this? We do this a lot through our conversion strategy. So we grew mainly through conversions. Historically, it was Holiday Inn, it was Crown Plaza, which are more our standardized brands. But now we are introducing Garner, Voco, and these are brands that enable quick conversion, quick cash flow, and this is what we need in this market, and to be fast. And then it's about localization. I know my team will tell me I don't localize enough, but we try to be flexible when it comes to the fee ramp up. We try to go as far as we can with tweaking brand standards. I will give you some examples later, because we are not in the same environment, both financially and you know, geopolitically, as we have in more stable markets in Europe.
But more specifically, top 2 trends, if you had to name them, what would they be?
Well, it's having to deal with speed, unpredictability, and having to localize. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, Maya.
I think I totally agree with Kristin, and this is exactly what I had in mind. Agility is number 1, and adaptability is number 2 for us in Turkey. So agility, just I don't want to repeat what Kristin has mentioned, but I think this is a very essential trend, specifically here where we are in Turkey. The mindset of the investor is different, and you see here an investor who's not only thinking but taking action. So driving and concluding the deal and the project from just simple thought into action within a very short period of time. And that's why companies like IHG, like Accor, it's very important to be up to speed and to execute and conclude fast in order to meet the agility of the investor in Turkey. And yesterday, our president was on a panel, and he mentioned that we have executed a deal, a project, within 6 days from signing a letter of intent. So fully negotiated, executed. But this comes, it needs, this is a result of a trust that was built with the investor, and this is what we focus on. It's very important to have the trust, to build this trust and to maintain it. It's not only about signing an agreement, but also about how we maintain the relationship later on. So this is for the agility, and we move based on the agility. So the whole team, the legal team, the technical team is fully supportive. Again, just to be aligned with this trend here, which we really like. The second one, I would say, it's adaptability. And this is also in line with the conversion. We're seeing more conversion. We're seeing more adaptive reuse. We're seeing more repurposing. So taking an office building, having it a hotel, a residential building, branding it as a hotel. This is, we've seen this last year, and this is a continuous trend that we are seeing again this year. And for this, we have conversion-friendly brands like, of course, everybody knows Mercure brand, which is very conversion-friendly. It's locally rooted. Also, it's all about the local neighborhood and local roots. But we're also introducing new brands. We have introduced Handwritten Collection, and we've signed the Handwritten Collection Levni here in Istanbul, as well as a Greek brand that we aim to have in Turkey very soon.
So, considering or maybe taking into consideration the alliance that you have with Rixos in Turkey and also in your region, so how does that influence your alignment between Turkey and the Middle East region?
Rixos, yes, we have a joint venture with Rixos since 2017, 2018. And Rixos is, very important brand for Turkey and as well for the Accor portfolio. But it's not only about expanding the footprint and expanding in scale and volume. It's also about sharing the know-how and adapting the know-how of both companies in order to expand better and to reach to what the demand is. So for Rixos, for example, Rixos is more on the guest-centric DNA, strongly driven by F&B, by entertainment. And this is exactly what we took from the Rixos know-how and adapted to our brands across the portfolio, but especially to the premium and mid-scale brand. So we have, for example, Swissôtel all-inclusive. We have Movenpick all-inclusive, Mercure all-inclusive. This is how we share the know-how between brands. Rixos is not the only one, but we have, done many acquisitions, many joint ventures, Fairmont, Raffles.
We'll come to that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, Carlos, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'm going to have to differ slightly from my colleagues here. Obviously, a scale, growth, conversions are important, and I know there is a trend now in many markets. What I've seen personally in Southern Europe, and especially and increasingly more in Turkey now, and especially after having several discussions with our fellow friends, owners and investors here, is that what they want or what they need after 20 years of growth and fast and good times, it's a little bit more of clarity. And clarity meaning on which segment they are entering, because they are not impressed anymore about how many brands you have in your portfolio, about how many flags do you have in a market. What they want to see is an actual strategic plan behind that. And they need to see clarity on who their competitors are going to be, what is going to be the segmentation looking like, And this is something that we have seen increasingly in this market. We believe that through our brands, especially Classic and Essential portfolio, where we have seen that they are the most resilient, we can show that we can deliver performance. And this is ultimately the most important thing and the most relevant. This is measurable, this is scalable, and this is repeatable.
So with your Hyatt Inclusive Collection growth in Southern Europe,
yes,
that we have been observing, how does that trend play into this market?
So the Inclusive Collection is a completely different animal, I could say. We have 5 different brand portfolios or brand buckets, let's say. One of it's the Inclusive Collection where we have 7 brands exclusively for the all-inclusive. We have at the moment 55,000 rooms on our portfolio, so that makes us one of the largest all-inclusive operators in the world. What I would say that we can bring to the table in Turkey, and it's not easy because you have a lot of very well-established groups, family-owned, driven, that have a very excellent track record. It's a little bit more perhaps of precision on how the distribution is made, how the commercialization of that asset is being made, because at the end of the day, resorts rely very much on tour operators, and that is completely different to the usual distribution that you can see in a market like Istanbul. Yeah. So having a great network and a great connection with tour operators, which at the end of the day is very much personal level relationship, it's critical. And we have 150 people sitting at our headquarters in Palma de Mallorca, which are experts on resort operation, which is obviously very much different than operating. So we bring to the table a lot of expertise on operation, but also a very strong commercial network.
Okay, thank you. Funda?
Well, actually being the fourth and talking about the same destination, I don't want to repeat, but I do agree with all the comments made for the market earlier by our competitors. Apparently, as per Hilton, the 2 top trends we would be prioritizing to sustain momentum would be our focus on watching the trend about the lifestyle hospitality and the conversions, as rightly mentioned by Maya earlier.
Lifestyle and?
Lifestyle and conversions.
Conversion, okay.
Yeah. And in terms of lifestyle, apparently, if we look at our pipeline, 1 in every 5 is carrying a lifestyle brand on them. We've been successfully operating with our Curio collection by Hilton. And last year, we opened our first Tapestry collection by Hilton brand, that property in Istanbul. And recently, we opened 2 properties with the brand Canopy by Hilton, 1 in Izmir and 1 in Istanbul. I think these lifestyle brands really work very well here because we are having a different culture, a great culture to share with the visitors. And in these lifestyle brands, we're letting the hotels have their own character, bring in the local culture, however, operate under a very strong umbrella which has a global reach, backed up by efficient management practices, therefore having even more success in the end instead of being a standalone property. And lifestyle is really changing, that we noticed that. We also have extended a partnership with small luxury hotels of the world, which is letting us go even in different markets, which are more experience-led markets, like Cappadocia or Alaçatı. And the second one, conversions. This is an increased demand that we've been receiving, and it's through the locally successful operators. But I think they are aware that global brands can bring even more success because they have a different way of approaching the business. Their global reach, their efficient revenue management systems, their loyalty programs play a crucial role, so you can still keep your own identity, but operate under a very successful brand. So these are the 2 things that we've been prioritizing.
So you didn't mention, but maybe let me ask, are residences one of the trends you have identified?
Apparently, yes, it's something new for us, and we have our managing director looking after the residences, and he's also here today. And this is a new area, let's say, but yes, that is one of our priorities to develop further.
Okay, thank you. Tassos?
Well, Armin, all my friends have talked about how they will use their global muscle to, if not dominate, to penetrate the Turkish market. I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to flip the narrative. I'm going to talk about how Turkish hospitality can be an export power, and export hospitality to the world. So over the last 30 years, Turkey has been investing heavily in hospitality, university training. If I ask any one of you to look into your LinkedIn of any country in the world for any GMs, the chances are you'll find Turks and Indians. There's tremendous intellectual capital, there's tremendous firepower from Turkey abroad. So what we're trying to do is export the know-how into the world. And in that point, at least as a strategy for Petra, is not only to grow regionally, but also one of the areas of special interest is Africa, which is the largest emerging market in the world. In 2050, 1 in 4 people in the world will be Africans, which is in extreme contrast to the European or Eastern Asian population, which is getting older, right? And Turkey is not a stranger to Africa. Just think how many tens or hundreds of billions of infrastructure has been constructed by Turkish firms in Africa. So we're just adding one layer on top of the infrastructure. We're adding the hospitality. The second trend, I owe you one more trend, is mixed use. You guys talked about residential, you talked about adaptive reviews. We see, and this is a trend that we see not just in hospitality, but in the property industry mainly, I'm a private equity guy, is the 15-minute city, right? Whereby each citizen should be, in theory, 15 minutes away from their place of residence, work, entertainment, and so on. What does that mean? It means mixed-use developments. So I'm sure all of you have looked at projects which are part of mixed-use developments. So you have a shopping center, a hotel, branded residences, unbranded residences, and so on. So that's the second pillar of our strategy, and we recently signed a partnership agreement with Esas Gayrimenkul.
I was going to ask you that actually.
So essentially, we're bringing together the largest commercial property asset manager and the largest hospitality manager in Turkey. We're creating a unique team to manage mixed-use schemes, and we're exporting this outside Turkey.
So when are we going to see the first examples of that cooperation?
We are working on 3 projects already in the pipeline. One is in Turkey, one is in Africa, the other is in the Middle East. So hopefully in the next few months.
Faster than I expected. All right, so round 2. I'll start with Kristin. So with IHG's recent acceleration of brand portfolio diversification in Turkey, and you have new entries like Garner, Vignette, Collection, and Voco, what are the main strategies your team is pursuing to drive rapid, high-impact growth in the market? And how does your company adapt to local demand, to volatility, which you mentioned, in view of ROI expectations by the owners and investors?
Yes, so I'll try not to repeat myself. Speed to market, introducing new brands like you mentioned. But I'd like to maybe take 2 specific examples of how we've done it. So localization. We recently opened a Garner hotel close to Istanbul airport, and this is a property divided over 4 different buildings. Now, I can promise you that if I would have brought such a project to my board back in for the French market, somewhere in Paris, they would have said a flat no. But in Turkey, if you want to conquer this market, you need to localize. You need to play along with what the investors are doing. So this property opened just over 6 months ago and has been a tremendous success. And I kid you not, 40% of the bookings come through our web app or website, which is
60.
40%.
40%. Okay.
40%. And the hotel has not even been open for a year. So it shows you the what is to be gained if you remain flexible. And then, like I mentioned earlier, it's about value engineering the brand standards within reason.
Okay.
To meet the investor's requirement for ROI, which is usually more short-term than what we see in Europe, because here we have less institutional capital going into hotel investments than we have in Europe. There's, like I said, much more volatility and unpredictability. Mm-hmm. And these are some of the ways that we try to play along with that. Obviously keeping the integrity of our brands, but certainly employing more flexibility than we do back in Western Europe.
So if I would ask you, what is the most prominent differentiator from your competitors in this market? Which one would you pick?
I would probably say that, not only in Turkey, but IHG is a European company, okay, but with a very strong presence in the US as well. Mm-hmm. So we are able to play on both demand, on all demand segments. And just on that, if I continue to talk about localization, it's not just about tweaking the brand standards and adjust the fees and all that. It's also to localize our commercial strategies for the market. Mm-hmm. Now, we are a little bit late to the game here in Turkey compared to Accor and Hilton especially. We have only, we have 35 hotels, but we have been boosting our commercial presence in the market, boosting our loyalty program, which is crucial because the ADR generated by the loyalty program, I was just looking at the figures last night when I was preparing for the panel, and there is one hotel in Istanbul, where the ADR generated by the loyalty program is 50% higher than the ADR for the hotel. So boosting our loyalty program, adapting the commercial strategy to the domestic market is absolutely crucial for us.
Excellent. Okay. So, Maya, just building again on my previous question, Accor's strategic alliance with Rixos, which has strengthened your ultra all-inclusive footprint in this country, as well as in some GCC markets, and obviously your expertise in driving premium, mid-scale, and economy growth across MEA and Turkey. What innovative, underlining innovative, approaches is Accor pursuing to further differentiate and expand its segments in this dynamic local market here, and to drive, obviously, better ROI for the investors?
So basically, to build on my response previously, the joint venture with Rixos was a great one. Again, with many acquisitions, many joint venture, we usually share experiences, and Rixos is strongly driven by F&B, strongly driven by entertainment, of course, all-inclusive, and this is what we gained from Rixos' expertise in this segment. We took it, applied it for other brands across our portfolio, again, specifically in the premium, mid-scale segment, and of course, luxury and lifestyle. But for my segments, Swiss Hotel, for example, Movenpick, Mercure in the mid-scale segment, we have the all-inclusive, and this is the know-how that we learned. Now, again, I was saying every acquisition and every joint venture is a big learning for Accor. And this is what we call augmented hospitality. The augmented hospitality is beyond rooms, because we discovered that the demand now is not just only rooms. The demand for the client is not rooms. They are thriving for experiences. The demand for the investor is no longer rooms as well. They want to drive revenue from the F&B outlets, from the entertainment. They want to take advantage of every space in their hotel. And this is what we should do. So at Accor, this is what we call augmented hospitality. Everything, the rooms, F&B, we have the Ennismore brands, lifestyle brands, all-inclusive offering, co-working space, branded residences, because branded residences is also an essential part of the offering today. So everything is now or has been innovated, has been created to attend to the demand of today. And this is what we are currently doing in Turkey. So we're not offering only rooms, we're working on entertainment, we're working on F&B, we're working on the Ennismore brands, working on expanding them, and as well mixed-use development where we have branded residences with Accor One Living department.
So if I had to ask you if you can give me one key metric from what you just explained that would illustrate this in a more visual way for us.
So
this innovative approach that you're taking.
Yeah, again, I'll go back to the all-inclusive, where we have the Swiss Hotel all-inclusive in Sharm el-Sheikh, and we adapted a specific F&B offering for the Swiss Hotel brand that is not all-inclusive initially, but we added the know-how of the all-inclusive, a specific F&B offering, specific entertainment to drive additional revenue stream to the property.
Thank you very much. Carlos, drawing from your Southern Europe experience, what strategies would help Hyatt deliver differentiated value beyond the affiliation in Turkey's very competitive and volatile city markets, while also unlocking the potential in the seasonal resorts and deliver, obviously, on ROI expectations of the owners?
So I think the value that Hyatt brings when speaking about affiliation is that we try to set up a relationship of trust and connection with our fellow investors and owners that goes beyond signing just a licensing agreement. So what we see in the market increasingly now is that the owners and investors are looking for support. It's not about having a brand on the flag. It's more about understanding what can drive stabilization to the hotel, is what can bring clarity on which segment they are competing, who their comp set is, and how they need to drive that commercial strategy. And then is to having a partner that can challenge also the project they have, that can help them to refine the concept, and that can help them to deliver the performance that the hotel needs to drive. So I think Hyatt has been very much on top of that. We have been very selective on how we have grown, and in Turkey, you can see by the number of hotels that we are not as big as our competitors who are sitting here next to me. But this is because the strategy of Hyatt is not being everywhere in Turkey, is being in the places where we can really deliver success stories. So I think this is a differentiator from Hyatt, and that goes beyond the affiliation. Is the level of support that we can bring to our partners. Now, building into the question of resorts, there is a complete different story, and I believe that we have been born in a way after the acquisitions of the all-inclusive brands that we've done, the Appaloosa Group, Playa Resorts, we did a joint venture with Playa Principe last year, is because we understood back in the days, and we were quite early adapters there, that the all-inclusive was obviously a very important segment in the market that we wanted to add to our portfolio. and that we couldn't take an approach similar to the one that we were taking into the usual business of Hyatt, which was the urban hotels. So building a specific team that takes care of the operations, distribution, marketing materials, and to have specific brands that can compete in that segment, I believe is the differentiator that we have. So when coming to Turkey, where you have very experienced hotel owners in the resort space, that they have excellent track records operating, that they have strong brands, I think we can bring something that is quite unique, that is unite the best part of two worlds, which is distribution on a tour operator level and all the commercial relationships that we have accumulated over the past years, together with our loyalty program from Hyatt.
Okay.
And those loyal members, they are really hungry for experiences in the sea. So having a resort segment fully dedicated to that, it's very critical for us.
So just one very quick question. So from your Southern European learning, which lesson would you apply to Turkey for this, to accelerate the growth in the resort market very quickly?
Yeah, well, don't take anything for granted. I mean, Turkey is a market with great knowledge and know-how.
Yeah.
And what we are here is to be able to build into that expertise that they have and to try to bring a new, fresh point of view perhaps on that. But really trying to keep what they're doing.
All right. So Funda, so Hilton obviously has decades of expertise in investor relations in Turkey, and there is this ongoing record growth. How is Hilton evolving its development model to ensure strong differentiation in this very competitive urban and coastal markets? And I'm talking about mainly Istanbul, Ankara, Bodrum obviously, talking of coastal, and now you have just signed Antalya as well. How do you differentiate to drive long-term owner satisfaction and ROI performance? When it's so dense, owner satisfaction becomes sometimes a question mark.
Yeah, true. Well, apparently, as Hilton, I think we are quite different and lucky to be the very first arriving in this wonderful country. This happened back in 1955, and being a US-based company, in fact, our first property outside US was opened here in Istanbul with the opening of Hilton Istanbul Bosphorus. And since then, our growth has been organic, disciplined, focused on team members, focused on the guests, and focused on our owner relations. We continue to see a very strong demand for our traditional brands, which are Hilton, DoubleTree by Hilton, Hilton Garden Inn, Hampton by Hilton. However, along the line, we were always watching the trends and listening the needs as well. So we recently introduced some newer brands like Spark by Hilton, which is an amazing brand in a place that we've never been before. It's the premium economy, ideal for conversions. Or we introduced Tempo by Hilton recently, which is another great brand, a lifestyle brand, however, operating with a very cost-efficient model. Or Motto by Hilton, which is giving the lifestyle experience, but utilizing the limited square meters one owner might have. So in other words, whether it's a dense city center or a coastal place, we do have the right brand suitable for that right location. And a key differentiator perhaps in our success has been really that we are able to provide RevPAR premiums, and that is coming through a very disciplined approach. We do have local teams as well watching every space in the local market too, and we are able to deliver RevPAR premiums through our very efficient revenue management systems. We do use our global reach, which is coming via direct booking channels. And we are also able to sign very favorable contracts with international OTAs, third parties, and not only limited to the international ones, but we're also focusing on the local ones to support our hotels. And I think we've been mentioning this a couple of times earlier, but we currently have 235 million Hilton Honors members. But But in fact, a very remarkable portion is also Turkish nationals in that group. Therefore, when these guests also travel abroad, they are focusing on staying in our brands because that's the brand they knew for long in the company. They love the brands, and they also, especially in the regions, we also see that they are having a remarkable portion of the stays in our hotels in the regions. So I think trust is a very important word here, and looking at our existing owners, we have a quarter of them already having multiple hotels with us. So I think everything I said now is not just saying, but we are delivering that, which is giving them even more confidence to sign even more hotels with us. And I think that's a nice proof of owners' relations and great return of investment if they chose to grow with Hilton.
So, quick question. How do you see the resort gap of Hilton closing in the next 3 to 5 years in Turkey?
Yes, this is a wonderful country in terms of resort space, and at the moment there are some challenges in the local market for accepting a global brand and the way of doing business. We are in fact evolving, and there is a new brand department focused on all-inclusive, and that Turkey would be benefiting from that team coming along the line. And I do see a great future, and at some point I know the operators will be even more aware. They are aware today, but it's not that easy to accept. But along the line, they will be more aware that a global brand would bring global reach, very effective revenue returns, efficient sales structures. And once it starts, I think there will be a very rapid growth that we will be growing with the international brands in Turkey, in the resorts.
So, last but not least, Tassos, as the co-founder of Petra Hospitality, which is one of Turkey's premier third-party hotel management companies and also white label operators, what key differentiators do you see in your role? Do you see brands offering in overlap markets like Istanbul, for example, or Bodrum? And how can these services, including conversions, help optimize investor performance in today's volatile market environment?
This is a complicated question, and I really thought you were interested. What am I doing on this panel?
Well, I asked
as a third-party operator. Well, my friends here are growing massively, right? Globally, hospitality is growing. 69% of their growth, on average, comes from franchise, and 31% from management. Out of 100 hotels, new hotels they sign, 69 someone else has to manage, and 31 they manage internally. Why would the market need a third-party operator? I've tried to summarize the hospitality industry, and particularly Turkish hospitality industry, in one phrase. Zor yollar, güzel yerlere çıkar, which means
Zor yollar güzel yerlere çıkar. You say that. So
difficult roads lead to nice places. Hospitality is difficult. Unless you've had experience, unless you've managed a hotel before, it's going to be difficult. So you need to know about revenue management, you need to know about sales and marketing, HR, IT, the whole lot. And not many of the 69% of your owners know about this thing. Then someone needs to translate the brand standards, your brand standards, to the owners, right? If you go to Anatolia, whatever city, it won't be very easy, even in Istanbul, to convince a non-hospitality professional what standards are, right? So this is one of the things that a third-party operator does. The other thing is, particularly Turkey, you have the lira fluctuation, you have labor laws, you have a million of complexities, and I don't think it's very easy to manage those from Palma de Mallorca or from Ciudad de Mexico, which another brand is managing the resorts from. You need local presence, right? And the other thing is, a third-party manager offers flexibility. If, for example, if for any reason the management of the brand doesn't work in a hotel because the market has changed, the brand has moved on, and so on. If you have a third-party operator, it's modular. You can remove the operator and keep the brand, or you can do it the other way around and replace perhaps with another brand in the same chain, or the other way around.
Good.
So I'm not a gatecrasher, I'm actually their best friend, and we're growing together.
So what should, I want you to take now an owner's perspective. Because obviously we have quite a few of them in the audience, what should investors prioritize when selecting a management or advisory partner today in Turkey?
I've had this question with the brands, right? The brands approached me and said, we've got this hotel, we need a manager, but we're going to keep the advisor who has introduced this deal with us. And my analogy is that you don't want a cardiologist to perform heart surgery on you. You actually need to choose an operator, allocate the tasks to the people who know how to do it, and choose a hotel operator that is going to upkeep the standards, communicates well with the brands, and is looking after your IRR, looking after your returns.
Well, okay, that answers the question. So we came good time management. I'd like to, and we obviously covered substantial ground today, I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our exceptional panel.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for your attention today. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
And I think we made you, we are leaving you early enough to catch your flight.
Yes.
1 minute earlier, wow.
Yes, we made it on time.
Thank you very much. Evet, hoş geldiniz. Buyurunuz efendim. Tekrar hoş geldiniz.
Welcome, welcome again. We will present you with a play to remember to this day. Yes. Members of the board and president of Turkish Tourism Investors Association are presenting our tokens of appreciation to our panelists. We will continue with a photo shoot.
Let's take a picture all together. Thank you very much once again.